Okay, welcome to our BCom Accounting SAICA-endorsed with an AGA SA Pathway webinar. Before we begin, I just want to introduce myself. So I'm Ruwain Woodley. I'm an academic at Regent Business School in Durban. I belong to the School of Finance and Accounting faculty. And with us today, we have the AGA Associate General Accountant lead from SAICA, Letu Mkhize. So I'm just going to hand over to Letu. He's going to speak to you about the AGA pathway and program, and then I will go over the BCom Accounting with BI qualification that Regent has this year. Over to you, Letu.
All right. Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Rainy, for that, and good evening, should I say, to everybody who has joined us in this session. As correctly put, my name is Letu Mkhize from SAICA, with the responsibility of the Associate General Accountant AGA South Africa designation. So I just want to say thank you very much for just joining the session. I will. I just want to think it's a great opportunity. I think it's the first time just joining in terms of Regent, in terms of the work that they're doing concerning the AGA. So my session just going to try by all means to be simple and short, just to talk about the AGA designation. All right, just forgive me here. I'm so used to MS Teams. So I'm just trying to make sure that my things are correct here. Can I just stop and then share a bit? All right, just very quickly speaking, I'm really tempted to ask, and I'm used to environments just contact face to face, just being able to talk. So my responsibility, just in simplicity, is the competency framework concerning the AGA designation and the AGA pathways. So that's my responsibility of just setting up in terms of the designation and the qualification pathways or the pathways leading to the AGA designation. All right, I just want to confirm, Rwani, if you can see my screen. If you can, I just want to confirm
Yes, we can.
you can. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, right. I've got 20 minutes, so I'm just gonna be as fast as possible. Right. So probably some of you, if not most of you, would know SAICA. SAICA in brief, in terms of the acronym, is South African Institute of Chartered Accountants. Right. So we are the largest accounting professional body in South Africa. We are responsible for probably most of you might know of the Chartered Accountants designation. We've got about plus minus 60,000 and in terms of almost round off about 66 to 67,000 in terms of membership. 60,000 made up of CAs, excuse me, and about 5,500 made up of AGAs, and then about another 5 to 700 made up of your accounting technicians. Okay, right. So what SAICA has done, as an accounting professional body, we are a non-statutory professional body. In other words, membership with us is based on non-statutory purposes. In other words, we're not necessarily a regulator as your RBA, but we are responsible in terms of the designation that we offer. So SAICA back in 1999 established 3 designations. Okay, obviously additional 2 designations, which was the to the addition to the chartered accountant was the AGA, which we call that Associate General Accountant, and the accounting technician. Now, it does happen we find some people when they think about the AGA, they think about Auditor General. No. It's a designation on its own. It's called an Associate General Accountant in South Africa. So currently, from a SAICA perspective, where individuals want to professionalize their abilities, their competence, their skills, we've got 3 designations: the Chartered Accountant, the AGA, and the accounting technician. And mainly the reason why we did that from a SAICA perspective, just to give background and context, was the fact that we have identified that generally, if you look in terms of organizations, in terms of there's structure, even based in terms of the Companies Act. You'll see generally there's that executive, almost kind of strategic kind of layer, and you get almost like your middle management, your operational layer, and then you get what they call tactical, almost what you call your functional kind of layer. So in SAICA, realized the importance that it's important that we have, in terms of all the levels, individuals who are competent and represent the values, attitudes, and beliefs of an accountant that SAICA would be able to produce through its qualification pathways. Right, sitting at the head would be the chartered accountant, and then you have supported by the associate general accountant, and then the accounting technician. And just the long and short around it was, when the Companies Act was introduced back in 2008, and the expansion of your the expansion of your independent review engagements, compilation work started to open up, stemming from your Section 60, almost kind of Close Corporations Act. SAICA saw the need that there's a need for us to have a mid-tier designation, or at least a designation where the qualification pathway and or components of the CA would not be full as would with the other qualification pathway. Right. So we introduced what we call the AGA and the accounting technician. So in simplicity, what has happened, Regent students, is SAICA has then moved. Historically, our focus has always been in terms of technical kind of side, right? So generally be a big four almost kind of focus, and things have changed. And you will see, if you look at your World Economic Forum and looked in terms of kind of skill sets and discussion. So less and less are we hearing things such as organizational structure. We're starting to hear terms such as value creation, preservation process. So SAICA then back in 2016 started into a research, mainly focusing on its designations. And the key aspects around that was, we are not only putting together designations and or competency frameworks that just produce this technical focused kind of accountant. But what we're going to start doing is having a type of accountant at the base being technical, but has a contribution towards the value creation. So our designations now are no more just about that I'll be a chartered accountant, become an FD, or become a CFO, or an AGA, become an FM or senior accountant, but started to become that the type of designations that we start producing and or getting academic programs to be aligned to, is that the qualification pathway starts to identify contribution into the value creation process. And so what we then did, going forward from 2020 upwards, until date, we started then to have, where, as you could see, where our competency framework looked at professional values and attitudes, your enabling competencies, and almost kind of your technical competency. So in other words, the focus is not just the big four, which is very, very critical, by the way, but the focus also started to look at things such as professional values, ethics, understanding the importance of being a citizen, and lifelong learning, amongst other things. And then considering key aspects, with which we call as acumen. So as you could see in front of you here, from an AJ perspective, starting with the technical competency areas, when we design our competency and we go to providers such as Regent, amongst other providers, we say, okay, this is our competency. Also, this is our set of skills, abilities, values that we have, and then providers such as Regent, for example, then align their academic program and or design and develop their programs to be able to develop these kind of competencies. And these competencies then go through in terms of our training program. So in the technical areas, we cover your general big four. Your strategy and risk management governance tend to be integrated into different modules. So probably you'll find risk might be integrated in math or in auditing assurance, and so forth. And then what we have done from an AJ perspective, we've added what we call data and technology. So what is traditional in terms of the digital acumen, we've taken it and allowed an aspect of that to become a technical competency area. So generally in a degree or in a qualification, you found that foundationally the big four modules will be covered, taking into consideration strategy, and your risk and governance would be integrated into various modules. Right. And then we've introduced a component called data and technology. And then at the final year, at what we call the core year, in terms of the qualification, generally you find the big four. From an AGA perspective, we allow at least two out of the four, and at the core being financial reporting, and then the institutions are allowed to add. So in this case, for example, Regent, you'd find that they've got an auditing assurance. And because of the data and technology pathway that we've introduced, Regent have then introduced business intelligence and accounting information systems coming through from second year upwards. And I do want to say that Ruani, and probably to those who are Regent listening, I've been contacted by a couple of firms. We will be setting up sessions for Regent to present this particular BCom in accounting or BCom accounting program with business intelligence. So there, our intention from an AGA side or from SAICA side is to start getting trainees to go into RT audit pathway, trainees going to a financial data analyst, business intelligence analyst, risk and compliance, and so forth, and amongst other things. When this program got approved, one of the then at the time national training officer for the Big Four firm was very excited about this program, and one of the national training officers have actually taken it to present to the senior partners. We're excited about what Regent are actually doing. In fact, this is the first program that got endorsed to take in terms of data and technology. You would see we've got something called your professional values and attitudes. So in other words, part of the things that will come in terms of the curricula or come within the competencies to be developed and assessed, we want at the core for us is ethics. Very important. Equally, in an expansion to that, is to understand that wherever you are, whether international or local or regional, that you are a citizen, amongst other things, and then this lifelong learning due to the rapid changes that are taking place. So those things are going to be integrated as part of the curricula in our view, based on the AGA competency framework. But also what we've also done is what we call your enabling competencies, right? That's what we call your acumen. So generally we use PVAAs, and then we use the term technical competencies. And these, as you could see, I won't go into depth with it, is what we kind of believe that the type of accountant that you need. So yes, at the core technical, which is important, but equally we need individuals who've got critical thinking. We need individuals who understand the business environment internally and externally, and who can work in teams. They can relate with individual, can write, put reports together, amongst other things. And generally, as accountants, you guys would know, those who are working, we generally rely on illustrative templates and all of that. But with the type of environments that we're in, with AI coming in, generative AI amongst other things, report could be easily put together. But you need individuals who are able to write, individuals who could be able to have insight in terms of the communication concerning the various reporting. And then key amongst other things, digital acumen, as you would have known in that. And for us, from an AJ perspective, we are strongly pushing this to be as a technical competency area, right? So generally there are three kind of terms that we define in AGA in terms of from a SAICA side. We call it a driver, we call it an integrator, and an enabler. So the old kind of school thinking says operational middle management. We are moving away from that term, right? We're using terms such as performance driver, terms such as enterprise, enterprise, things such as value driver going forward. And because in our view, the AGM is not limited necessarily in terms of job scope, but what generally defines an AGA, which is the skill set in which they're bringing in terms of driving the value. So we say generally an AGA is a value driver. So if you're an individual, generally, you're results driven. You want to ensure that you are able to bring results. You ensure that you want to get things done. That's how we kind of almost define a value driver. Being able to assist in ensuring that there's profitability, there is value. So we define generally looking at your support and kind of operational roles within the finance and accountancy related role. We view an AG as a value driver. We view an AG as an integrator, an individual who's able to take strategy and ensure that it's implemented, take strategy, ensure it's running across the organization. right? And it may be in different roles, it may be in various roles, but at least, and that's why strategy and risk and governance, amongst other things, are an important area for us because at least you would have understood the strategy, though you may not have probably come up with it, but you may have inputted it, or at least in terms of its implementation. Right. So you're able to integrate the strategy in terms of the competencies provided, and then we view that as enabler. By that we mean, these are more of your implementation kind of roles, right? So through the study and through the competencies that you would have developed, in our opinion, we are of the view that it should allow you, if not all these three core kind of aspects, concepts, at least one of them. Either you're a person who just believes in driving value, or you can integrate, bring together the strategy, ensure that it gets operationalized, or you enable for that strategy to be implemented, right? And then you would have seen a couple of AGAs that we have in terms of the various roles, particularly this has been sourced from LinkedIn. Generally, these are where we see our AGAs. In terms of our stats, we see many of our AGAs, almost about 2,000.5 out of the 5,7 are generally within commerce and industry, members and business, or professional kind of accountants within in terms of roles and industry. Right. So just the long and short of it. So in our view, when we view the SAICA designations, we view based on contribution towards the value creation and preservation process. So generally a CA is the architect designer. They develop the strategy, design, develop. They come with the long-term thinking, right? The AGA generally would be the driver of it. They drive the value, they enable the business strategy, they integrate the business strategy, sometimes in one or sometimes in all of them. But generally the AGA, in terms of their responsibility within an entity, is an individual who says, my role is to bring about the results. My role is to ensure that there's value that is created based on the strategy that is designed. So we view our designations not necessarily based on, yes, the CA is at the top, absolutely, but our view in terms of the CA AGA kind of interrelation is based on skills and competency kind of contribution within the value creation process. All right. So in terms of functions, predominantly, you'll see the Companies Act allows for professional account or general accountants or accountants that with bodies that can be able to perform independent review. So you can perform your independent reviews if for entities with the PI score below 100. There are below 100 or up to 100. There are discussions that are coming up to say that to take up the PI score to kind of bit of an upper level. If you're a chartered accountant, 350 points and above. If you're a CA and an RA, 350 and above. But generally, you can become a compiler, become a tax practitioner, various accounting services that you can perform, assurance engagement, limited all up to the independent review part. Okay. What's very interesting in terms of what the market is saying around the AGA. So I've just pulled out just a couple of few things so that you can just see the role and or demand, because I think as you hear, you'll understand the aspects in terms of market forces, supply and demand. Right. So in terms of the DHET's national list of occupations that are in demand, and they've provided the various factors that kind of characterize that. So high employment growth, high vacancy growth, high wage growth, likelihood of recruitment to take place. Very interesting. And I've just pulled out things that generally where you see your general accountant falling, and equally in terms of your CA, right? So generally, and very interesting enough, you'll see they've listed general accountants as one of the scarce and critical areas where generally, as you would have seen, there's high employment growth, high vacancy growth, and so forth. So I've just pulled this out just to show you that as you are in this BCom or intending or may do the BCom Accounting Business Intelligence, you're really going into something that is market. There is a demand there within the market. Right. I also thought, let me just pull out something for you. Various employment trends. You would have seen, just if you can see in the last 3 or 4 sentences there, roles in finance and business management. This was Q4 2023. And if you look in terms of Q5, 2025, a report that just recently come out, and specifically using your employment insights as based on your career junction, you'll see, and I've kind of showed you roles such as in business management and finance have been increasing, right? I generally keep at the end of each quarter, the beginning of a new quarter, just keep tabs in terms of seeing the various changes in the market, job roles that are changing, marketing of roles, and what have you. So the need of the question might come in, what about AI coming in? What about automation? Absolutely. Probably in certain routine tasks and or roles, there might be shifting changes. But in terms of the need for insight, the need of being able to interpret and provide advisory support, that's still going to be required in terms of the accountant, right? Absolutely. In terms of definition, AFAC, the International Federation of Accountants, are starting even looking around the definition of what accounting is. And we are currently in the process of working that and inputting from a SAICA side. But just in terms of what the market is saying, there are definitely going to be demands in relation in terms of the AGA pathway, right? I've also thought, let me just pull something out, just looking in terms of what the market is saying. Amongst other things that have been identified is, the qualifications are out there, but the relateness and the relevance and the flexibility of those qualifications meeting the needs of markets is one of the biggest challenges. And I'm very happy with what Regent has done, because there's a huge cry from our training officers. Upon you completing the academic program from Regent, you will be there is a potential for you, or probably higher level of probability of joining or being part of a training office, because they are looking for it. One of the things they've been saying to us is, literally, we are in need of trainees who have an understanding and being able to manage complex data sets. And so we really believe that this BI, amongst other programs, will be able to be playing towards that role. So those things are important. So when we started to see Regent apply for this, and in our conversations that we had with him, it really, really excited us concerning that. I thought, let me also just be able to show you that, as you are may decide to take the AGA pathway, there is definitely a market and a demand there. So I thought, let me just pull out just a couple of things just to be able to see requirements or requiring AGAs and other professional bodies, professional accountants, senior accountants, and so forth, and what have you. Right. So you if you do decide to take the AGA pathway, definitely the market is really in demand for the AGA. So the next route generally will be is upon you completing an endorsed, in this case, the BCom Accounting, with BI, you could then be able to apply to enter into a SAICA training contract, an endorsed program, 36 months, and then the completion of that, you can then become an AGA. Then we are working towards various reciprocities to create international mobility. There's about 3 institutions that we're in discussions with. We've started to one with Zimbabwe, and so that we can allow the international kind of mobility for individuals who, for example, want to be here in South Africa but want to have engagements in the Philippines, for example, or want to have engagements in Australia, performing independent reviews while here, or you living while there, and what have you. So we are looking around that. But I do want to say that upon you completing the attractiveness of being in an SAICA endorsed program has high levels of prospects for you to go and become a trainee. Then thereafter that, once you get discharged, you complete your training with your BCom Accounting BI, you can then be able to register with SAICA to become an AGA. Right. So I've just tried to manage my time. I know that I have come to 20 to 25 minutes, but I think that's the almost the long and short around it. I do want to say that from the SAICA side, we're very excited in terms of what Regent has done. The accounting information system and the BR that's going to come through, I do want to indicate that already some of the firms are offering digitech kind of learnerships, right? They've even started to go and look for other qualifications because, this thing's become real much in demand. Right. So I really hope that you guys, if you may not have taken the CA route, if you then decide to look for an alternative, the AGA is that route. And I just do want to tell you that the nice thing is that as an AGA, the same PVAs that are, in other words, the professional values and attitudes, and acumens that are demonstrated in the CA program are equally demonstrated and displayed in the AGA program. And that's why it was easier for us to work with Regent in terms of where some parts we can change in terms of the CA program. And the nice thing, equally with training, you can also go to the same training that is offered for purposes of CA. Right. And so it really pulls up your levels of being marketable and employability. Rwani, can I just pause there for now? Thanks.
Yes, yes. Okay. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks so much. It's so interesting seeing it from SAICA's perspective and the different pathways and understanding that both routes lead to an accounting firm or accounting position designation one day. I'm going to share my screen. Let's just see if I can share. Okay, and then later you can just let me know if you can see it.
At the moment, no.
No, no. Okay, let's see. Okay.
Yes, I can see it. Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
Okay, I see there are some questions in the chat. So I will go over the slide quite quickly, about 5-10 minutes, and then we can go through the questions together later.
No
Okay,
problem.
so the Bachelor of Accounting with BI, or we call it the Business Intelligence stream, it's AGA endorsed. So everything that Letu has been talking about, that this qualification is accredited by it. It's a NQF level 7 degree. It's 360 degrees. 360 credits, and the duration is 3 years. Just see if okay. So you'll see, and it will become someone I think did say in the chat screen about registration. So this qualification is going to be available from July, so from this year, July, but registration will be opened, I think, in April for second semester. So we're starting the course in July this year. And it's a 3-year qualification. It's called BCom Accounting Business Intelligence AGASA. A little bit about the qualification or the purpose. The qualification is here to recognize and equip technically minded mid-tier accounting and financial professionals with the skills to bridge operational and strategic management functions within an organization. And like Leto said, with the acumen skills, the purpose of this qualification compared to the BCom accounting is to introduce a digital technology framework or competency and enhance and include digital acumen skills throughout all their modules. So Regent is now currently embracing the emerging technologies and preparing our students not just to adapt to technological change, but to harness it as a catalyst for growth and transformation. So when you look at the two different qualifications, and this could be for a brand new student that's wanting to join Regent or an existing student that's studying BCom accounting. If you look at the different pathways, your year one of the BCom accounting with BI is exactly the same as your year one BCom accounting chartered accountant degree, SAICA endorsed degree. So your modules will be exactly the same in year one. And at the end of year one, you can decide, or at the start of your studies, you can decide if you want to go the BI route or the BI stream, business intelligence stream. So you could go into BCom accounting year two and year three. When you completed that, you could do your PGDA and then you can become SAICA accredited once you've done your articles and your board exams. With the BCom accounting degree with BI, you'll choose that stream and do it in year two and year three. And once you completed it, you'll be AGA SA certified. So in the slide here, I've just put down the NQF, the credits, and the duration, and then the modules that are available. So you will see if you look at your BCom accounting, and if there's any first year's BCom accounting students here at the moment, all these modules, the first 10 modules in year one is exactly the same as the BCom accounting degree. In year 2, we have Accounting Information Systems 201, Tax 201, Accounting Information Systems 202, Auditing with Ethics, Management Accounting and Finance 2, Financial Accounting 2. So those modules are exactly the same as the BCom Accounting second year modules. The new module that comes in the BI field is, or the BI stream, is Business Intelligence 2, which I'll tell you about now. And that will be your kind of like your core module. And then in year 3, you will do Accounting Information Systems 3, Business Intelligence 3, which will be 2 of your core modules in your year 3, and then your Financial Accounting third year and Auditing third year. So you'll see in this slide, your structure of the program, your year 1 is the same 10 modules that a BCom Accounting degree is or has. It's your Business Mathematics 101, Digital Literacy 101, Business Management 101, Business Communication 101, which are semester modules. Your semester 2 modules will be Business Statistics or Business Stats 102, Digital Literacy 102, Business Management 102, and Commercial Law 102. You will then have your annual modules, which are yearly modules, which you would begin at the start of the year and finish after 10 to 12 months. That will be your Financial Accounting 1 and your Economics 1. Once you've completed year 1, and if you are doing the BCom Accounting degree and you feel I don't want to go the CA route. This path is not for me. I want to be more technically advanced and more up to speed with technical skills, and I want to do the BI stream. Then you will select upon registration, you want to go the BI stream, and then you'll pick the BI or business intelligence modules as your electives. So you'll see I've put down the BCom Accounting on the left and the BCom Accounting with BI on the right, and you'll see the differences between the modules. On the right-hand side, it's the Business Intelligence 2 module. And in total, the degree is made up of 21 modules and 360 credits. But just a little bit on the business intelligence module, because this is it's a new module introduced to Regent this year. This module consists of basic and intermediate business intelligence. It covers advanced techniques such as data or data mining, machine learning, network and social media analysis, and the use of technology for effective data management and business problem solving. If you look at your year 3 modules, you will see that with the BCom Accounting, you'll do your core modules, your math or your manufacturing accounting, your financial accounting, your taxation, and your auditing. If you're doing the BI pathway, your third year will be AIS or Accounting Information Systems 3, Financial Accounting 3, and your Auditing 3, as well as your Business Intelligence. I just want to quickly tell you a bit about those those new modules there. So with if you in your second year, the Accounting Information Systems 201 is kind of a basic introductory module to the different types of systems and the different accounting systems that exist. In Accounting Information Systems 202, regardless of which path you are choosing, it's a basic and intermediate accounting transaction processing module. Here we teach an accounting software. So here a student will learn from start to end on how to create a company or a database, and they would process day-to-day transactions and do reporting at the end of the month. Types of transactions that they would be practicing or capturing or learning about would be invoicing, banking transactions, and journal entries. When we get to year 3, the Accounting Information Systems and Business Intelligence modules will be new to us at Regent. So the Business Intelligence 3 module here is more of an advanced module compared to the year 2. And here we're going to cover text mining, deep learning, and related technologies, enabling students to apply analytical techniques across diverse businesses and technological context. For the AIS 3 or Advanced Information Systems 3, this is an advanced module building onto your second year Accounting Information Systems modules. Here you're going to be doing or learning advanced transaction processing using a practical accounting software. We're going to cover creating a company or database and processing more advanced transactions like your year-end adjustments, your journal entries, your provisional tax payments, and inventory adjustments. We're also going to learn in that module about importing and exporting and integrating between different software systems, because as an accounting student or when you're doing your articles and when you're in industry, you're going to come across many different systems that you're going to have to interact or engage with. Okay, so that's the qualification as such or as a whole. And then I think we're going to stop here and just check if anybody has any questions for us. Oh, let me just go through the chat screen.
I can see here in the chat, there's a question by Tulani. How can one be a skilled accountant? How much does an AGA earn? I can take that, Ruani.
Okay,
Do you
you
want
answer that one.
All right. No. First, let me start with the last one, Tulani. How much does an AGA earn? Look, it really depends on the role and the entity offering it. Generally, we tend to find AGAs kind of starting at a point of entry, generally, and it's not necessarily it started there, but generally most you see them either as between junior accountant, senior accountant, financial accountant, almost kind of a role. So it really depends on the various entities. So you can go and look up and just point of entry, newly qualified as a financial accountant. You'll see others coming in as other financial controllers. Kind of your creditors accountant and all. It really depends. Tulani, I don't want to say this is where and fix it and box it in terms of that. But in between a support and a kind of operational kind of role is where we generally see AGAs at point of entry. Right. In terms of skilled accountant, it's very simple. That's why you complete your degree and we put you into it. We are required to go into a training because we want to get that academic knowledge into practical, right? So how do you become skilled? One is obviously continuously doing improving yourself in what you're doing. So taking the knowledge, taking the ability, continuous practice, convert into a skill. But I think the essence of your question is how as an accountant do I start to diversify myself? And so what we are doing from a SAICA side in terms of the AGA is we are Rwanda, very nice. We are working on, hopefully it may be approved, is we want to start having various reciprocity agreements or strategic pathways with various entities. For example, become an AGA and we have a strategic partnership with SAICA, right? Where you become an AGA, do a couple of assessments at SAICA, and become a certified internal systems auditor, for example.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay.
Yes, we're working on that. We want to also we're working on in terms of your Global Risk Association, right? So that's another professional body. Again, we're still looking at what's required in terms of them and joining us. You complete that, so you become an AGA, and if you want to enter into risk engagement or risk officer, compliance officer, for example, we've got that reciprocity agreement. So that's what we're currently working in, including also financial management, but mostly international organizations, so that you become this general accountant with the strong accounting kind of focus, but then have other professional specialism, be it risk, financial management, given the fact as you see in IFRS S1 and so forth and what have you. So that's what we're currently. And I think your question is how can I diversify myself as an accountant to an ever-changing world? Thanks, Ronnie.
Yeah, okay. There is another question here from, let me just see, Kara. I have a quick question. If I'm looking into the CA pathway, can I do my articles while I am doing my 3 years BCom at my current company? So if you're doing your BCom accounting SAICA-endorsed program and you are working, it's up to the company to employ you while you are studying. Majority of the accounting firms actually want an entry-level degree to be completed and then they allow you to do the articles. So from what I know, most of the companies, most of the firms, the accounting firms, you need to have your degree and then you can start your articles while you're furthering your studies. But you
Mm,
can't start your articles while doing the degree. But there are some audit companies
mm,
that do allow that. It depends
mm.
on the company.
And just to add that,
They,
Rwani,
yes,
generally from a SAICA side, just to add to what you're saying, SAICA's got
yeah,
almost three categories of entry into a training contract. So you've got your 36 months where as you enter into the training contract, you've got an endorsed or a PGDA qualification. You've got a 48 months where you're entering with a degree, but that's not endorsed, or with a diploma, or even with a diploma, advanced diploma, a non-endorsed degree. And then you've got your 60 months where you're coming in into just with the matric, for example. Right. And then again, as Ronnie says, it all depends in terms of the firm. I don't know, Cara or Ciara, I hope I'm saying it right. If you
yeah.
are within an accredited training office currently and you're studying, you have to engage with that training officer in terms of entering into that training contract. So one, they will have to employ you, so that's one covered. And secondly, they'll then have to take you in terms of the training contract, depending in terms of the qualification, endorsed, non-endorsed, that you're entering into when you start the training contract. Thanks, Ron.
Okay. Then there's a question from Hamza saying, so after a BCom BI degree, are you automatically AGA certified? So you would register with SAICA and they would receive your results, and from there you'll be AGA certified. Am I correct, Leto, that that's how it works when a student has completed PGDA and they're trying to get into SAICA to do their board exams?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
quite a similar process.
Almost a similar process. I just was looking for the name here.
Hamza.
So what would happen is, what we have endorsed here, or what we have, I'll just use the word certified, or what we've accredited.
Yes.
We are saying that the BCom BI, or BCom Accounting with BI, it has all the competencies aligned to a competency framework. It would develop and assess these competencies, and so that you could be able to be a profession, an agent point of entry. But for SACA requirements, we want to take these professional competencies that you would have developed in the Regent or through this program, and we require practical experience of it. So for us to become an AGA, we need you to complete this program and then complete the art. We formal word we use articles, but we call it training now. So in other words, there are two
Yes.
components for you to become an AGA. One, the academic program, BCom Accounting with BI. Secondly, training program, you need to do a training contract. Alternatively, if you don't get a training contract, you get some work. What we then allow is that 60 months of relevant work experience outside a training contract. And then after that, you can apply at SAC, and then we'll have to assess your practical experience against our training contract. And then if you found competent, you then become an AGA. So one is we are saying we are certifying this program to lead to an AGA designation. Once you complete that, you have to have practical experience, complete that, and then become an AGA. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Leto. Okay, there's a message from Brittany that says, what are the routes post BCom accounting to CA? Which postgrad courses are a must? Does Regent offer these? Yes, so Regent offers a postgraduate diploma in accounting. So once you completed your SAICA-endorsed BCom accounting degree, you can go into a 1-year qualification into PGDA. Once that is completed, you do your traineeship, and then you do your 2 board exams, and then you qualify as a CA. So we do have further studies after your degree here at Regent. There is another question, Apofa. Can you do BCom accounting in BI and do your PGDA and be a CA and AJ? No, you can't. So you would need to do the BCom Accounting SAICA-endorsed program for 3 years in order to do your PGDA and go the CA route. If you would like to go through both the routes, you would need to do your BCom Accounting SAICA accredited degree and your BCom Accounting with BI. So you wouldn't do the entire program from scratch. You would just need to do the second year business intelligence module and your third year, which is an annual module, and you would need to do your third year business intelligence module, which is the annual module, and your accounting information systems 3, which is a third year module and an annual module. So you would need to do those 3 modules in order to qualify for the BCom accounting with BI. And then you could go for the AGA as well.
Mm.
Okay, there's a question from Monica. What happens if you want to integrate between the two? Can we take the BI subjects as additional, or do we need to choose between the CA and the BI at the end? It would be nice to be able to get the BI part as well. You can do both, but you won't be able to do both at the same time because of your credit load. So you're only allowed a maximum a number of modules per a year or per intake or semester. So that is why you won't be able to add on those additional three. You'll need to complete your BCom accounting degree, the SAICA endorsed one, and then do the outstanding modules for the BI degree. Uh, Donovan says, hi, thank you for the session. Can you briefly explain what will be covered in Financial Accounting 2 and 3? Uh, I don't have that information with me, but you can check on, if you are a current Regent student, you can see under your LMS system, under program overview, they will give you the learning outcomes and what's covered briefly in those financial accounting 2 and 3 modules. Karabo has a question. Is it possible to do the BCom accounting degree with BI and go to the CA stream? No, two separate streams. This is for the AGA stream. The BCom accounting degree that SAICA endorsed is for the CA stream. Angelique, I just want to say this creates an opportunity for me because of my age and the fact that I won't be able to further studies to become a CA. Yes, I think that's
Mm.
why
Okay.
Letus points
Yeah.
out how important the AGA is right now and in this digital age and time right now, actually.
And if I can just add, Ronnie, that
Yeah.
I'm afraid not to say the name because I'm going to say it wrong. But if I can just say Angel, the what we
Angelique.
Angelique, all right, just wanted
Yes.
to say it wrong. And that's why what we're doing right now is that we are trying to create this kind of this general accountant, but with diverse pathways. That to say that not I complete becoming AGA, but I realized that being an AGA at SAICA, I can then go risk if I two, three mod through assessments, whatever they require, or financial management or RGA. We're looking around working with SAIGA to create reciprocity to be in terms of going into your government kind of audits and all of that. Want to open up all these kind of pathways. And so yes, probably there might have been a dream for CA, right? But you might have realized, no, I've got a family, I might not have the necessary ability, though neuroscience says that you can even change careers at the age of 86. So I do want to encourage you that you can still be a CA. There's a person that we just recently admitted, I think is sitting about at the age of 57, right? So you
Wow.
can still, but equally, you can still have various pathways, have your small practice, small kind of side hustle at the same time, have other pathways going further. So that's the opportunity we're trying to create from an AJ perspective. Yeah.
Okay, and then Tulani says, thanks, Letu. Last question, which one would you choose between AGA and CA since AI is taking over and why? I think you want to answer that, Letu.
I'll say, look, I would say any CA or AGA, they're both in the same family, right? CA and AGA, they're both in the same family. The AGA is, the CA, as we said, they create the roadmap. They put the map together. The AGA says, okay, CA, here's the vehicle. I'll drive, or I'll be the mechanic, or I will be the cleaner, whatever, whatever. So it really depends unto you. We cannot say don't take the CA, take the AGA, and I can't say don't take the AGA, become CA. My view is you go with your heart, you go with your heart. So if your heart says CA, go for it. And then if circumstances change in terms of the market forces, right? You realize that hold on, the market forces are driving you this and that. Look, also go for it. I don't want to say Rwani, particularly to those who are asking the question, because I could see they're interested in the BI, but yet they're of the CA, right? And this and
Yeah, yeah, you're
to
going to
me.
pick one.
Yeah, I do want to say that from a CA perspective, it might be starting coming through in terms of the PGDA, in terms of the digital acumen, and I'm very confident in Regents that what they are doing around the CA program that will give you at least the foundational digital acumen that you would need, right? Or
Yeah.
or the technological skills that you would need. The reason why the AGA is taking that, because the AGA has a responsibility that may be in between functionary and in between requirement for operations, while the CA might look at a broader kind of perspective. So to those that are saying, but hold on, this looks very more attractive, I want to also equally indicate that I'm very much aware that there is work being done by Regent to ensure that as you enter into the training contract, you've got the foundational kind of skills for the technology. What we are just doing at the AGA side is that we've taken that foundational digital acumen or technology and we've just made it a competence, a technical area.
Yeah, okay. We have a question from Tabang. What is the difference between AGA versus CA versus SEMA?
All right, Tabang, very quick. Start with the AGA and CA, right? The AGA is 3 years undergrad degree or 3 years in terms of the academic program, 3 years training or training contract, and then becoming AGA. For CA, undergrad, you've got the PGDA or the honors, depending on the institution. In this case, PGDA, and then they would do two board exams, the IAC and the APC, and then the training program and professional program, and then they would register as a CA. So CA has more components to it because of the nature of skills required for that particular for that designation. So that's where the difference is in the honors and the professional board exams. And in terms of SEMA, from a SEMA side, I don't want to misrepresent SEMA in the session, but generally from a SEMA, the difference between a SEMA and a CA or SEMA and an AGA is that SEMA has three kind of levels. So you have a foundational, management, and a strategic kind of levels. And then what it does, that its main focus is not strongly on the technical competency areas as SAICA would do. So SAICA will have a strong focus on the CA and the AGA, your financial reporting, auditing assurance, your math, your tax, and then with SEMA, the strong focus is on strategy, management, accounting. So the key difference is just on the technical competency areas. And then obviously SEMA's got a different practical experience requirements comparative to us. Generally, you'll never find, or minimally will you find a SEMA within audit and assurance practice, but a CA you'll find. That's one. And secondly, generally your CA, you will find that the trainings, the foundational competencies developed there also or could also lead to your audit pathways and becoming an RA. While with a SEMA, it's more focused on management and strategy and less in terms of your auditing and assurance and your financial reporting and what have you. So those are the main kind of significant technical things around SEMA and AG and CA.
Yeah, too. And then there's Dinky that says, do you suggest that as a first-year student in BCom Accounting that you should rather finish the course and then go either for AGA or CA? Yes, definitely finish the course. But what most students find that once they're in it and after they're done, they with their first and second year and they feel this is not for me. I can't spend another 4 or 5 years going this route, and I need something. I need a change. You can go into the BCom BI from there. Um, then there's a question, is it possible to do AGA after completing CA? If so, what are the procedures? Yes, it is, because you would get accredited for your SAICA-endorsed undergrad degree, and then you would do the outstanding modules that are needed for the BCom Accounting with BI degree. So I
And I
think
just
it's
want to put in
three
there, Rowan.
modules. Yeah,
From a CA side, and so from a region, from a CA side, from a SACA side, is what we generally say is if any CA endorsed program, right? So if let's say for argument's sake there wasn't a BCom accounting with BI, there was just a BCom in accounting program, and you
yeah,
complete your training, you can and then let's say for argument's sake you didn't do your PGDA, you didn't do your board exams, you realize it's wrong, and say, you know what, hey, you know what, this is not for me, whatever. But if you have a SACA endorsed AJ or CA, in this instance, let's say CA, you complete your BCom
yeah.
accounting, you do your training, you can still be able to register with us as an AGA. So to those, I do want to say, Rowan, to those who
Mm,
realize at the end of the third year they complete BCom accounting, and let's say for argument's sake they haven't taken the BI on our part, but they're in the training
yeah.
contract. They can still register with us. Though ideally, from where we're sitting, it would be nice if they do get their BI, if they do take the
Yeah.
HA route. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Letu. Then they say, hello, when does Regent's orientation for first years begin? So we've had our orientation for the January intake. We had it at the start of the month. We do have catch-up sessions throughout the semester, and then we will have one, I think it's in March sometime for the second semester or second half of the year intake. Classes begin. So correspondence online students classes have begun, webinars have begun. They've begun now in Feb, and then for face-to-face students that are going to the campuses, the classes begin in April. There's a question: would you advise South African accountants to go abroad?
Look,
Later.
Siamtanda, hopefully I've said it right. The reality of the matter is that we live in a global economy, right? We're living in a global economy right now. I'm aware of people who are in South Africa, but are having doing some work for entities for MNC multinational corporations in the US, or using US GAAP, but they're in South Africa. I am aware that in the Philippines, there are people living in the Philippines or entities in the Philippines, but having engagements with entities and or peoples with people in South Africa. So the question is that I think you should be that I think probably indirectly you're asking is, can as an accountant you be able to have international mobility while being in South Africa? And the answer is yes. You've got various off training offices or various entities like Human Course and SAPROS. People are working here, living here, but they've got engagements internationally. In other words, they're working at the time we are sleeping, they're doing work, they are meeting clients and all of that. So absolutely. SAICA gives you, if you're a CA or an AGA, as we're trying to push very strongly from an AGA side, is really that part. So one from if you are be a CA, we've got various reciprocities in England, Australia, New Zealand, and all of that. So you might have going there, they take you and accept without anything and so forth. So there's that part. But also, there's also another part where you're just living here. You've got an entity, or even you're working for an entity here in South Africa but it's owned overseas, right? So, with the advice for you to go overseas, I would say, it really depends on the offer and how conducive that will be for your living. But what I do know is that generally South African accountants, those that come from a SAICA stream, they tend to be taken overseas. I just recently was working on an application. They needed the certificate because they're an AGA. There's a company in the US is waiting for them to be taken. They just need a certificate confirming that they're AGA. So look, it really depends on the market forces at the time and when you need to make that decision.
Thanks, Letu.
Mm.
Then there's a question here about from Donovan. If classes start in April 26 for first years, yes, that is correct. Delane, hi Ruane, I'm registered now as a in Feb as a distance learner. However, my modules are not showing on my portal. Please advise. You can email and log a ticket with student support, and they'll just assist you with that. That's an operational kind of query. So once you log it, it will go to the correct department, and then your query will be resolved. It also depends when you registered. If you did it in Feb, you just have to give it about 3 to 4 days before it can reflect. Hamza says, you've just said that classes for online students have begun. However, we've been told that it starts in March only. So you get an academic planner, and in your planner, the webinar dates are there. So you would see that webinar one, Teams meetings and stuff have been sent out already. So it depends on the course. If it's BCom Accounting, I do know that it has already begun because my modules have started in the month of Feb, so 2 weeks ago. So just have a look at your academic planner. Tulani says, so face-to-face students are starting late. Can't they join the online ones for now because I want to learn, I'm just hungry? Yes, you can. So the online webinars are available for the face-to-face students as well. Since classes commence in April, when does the first semester end? I think it ends in May, if I'm not mistaken. It's 13 weeks of classes. Um, then there's a question, does working at the audit department and learning more about auditing reduce the amount of years you do on articles?
Um,
Letu?
If I can just answer and also answers Angelica's question, I'll start with the Samsung one. Does working at audit department reduce the not at all, right? So what we do is generally there's a classification of entities. So in the old days we used to have something called tip and top. Now we've got what we call electives. So you've got a firm that is public practice, so their focus is on audit, focus on insurance engagement, and you've got another entity like Pick and Pay, Woolworths, we define them as commerce and industry. And but the training is still the amount of period as required as indicated. So being within an audit firm or in an entity that is focusing on auditing and insurance engagement doesn't reduce your time. What reduce your time could be is that if you're going in and applying and you've got experience. And then you apply for RPL. That's what we call Section 18 of the regulations. You apply for RPL, they'll assess, and then they could see in terms of the reduction of the time frame for your training. Angelica then has asked, I think her question was just around RPL. She said, "Can prior learning be advanced to an AGA?" Look, it again, it really depends, right? It really depends because at the end of the day, for example, you might have the BCom BI and you've been working extensively for a long period. I'm just making an example. You've been in an accountancy and a finance related kind of role, and then you say, you know what, I may not want to take the 36 months, but I have more than 60 months relevant work experience. I would like to just right now, as I complete my BCom BI applied SAICA using my experience that I have. Right. So that has worked to your advantage. Okay. But to another person, they might say, you know what, instead of me working 60 months, I could just work 36 months in a training, in an office, an accredited training office, and then get my AGA. So it really depends, Angelica, from a perspective that you're looking at. And that probably without taking much time, I'll leave my email address or Rwani, you can share it. And
Yes,
then if
yes.
they have any other further questions, I'm always willing to assist in
Thanks,
response. Yeah.
Leto.
Yeah.
There's one more question here. Is it possible to be chosen for vacation work programs at firms as a first year student? Yes, many of the firms take first year students for vacation work.
Absolutely.
So what we'll do is when we will just let marketing know when this recording is available on YouTube, we'll ask them to also just put our contact details on the at the bottom there, so you can ask anything else. We both are very happy to help and answer any questions. Hey there too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, everyone. Any more questions? I think we can one more minute. Okay, nothing else. Okay, thanks so much, everyone, for your time and spending this hour with us this evening. I hope it helped everyone, and the recording will be available for you on YouTube. Okay, thanks, everyone. Bye. Thank you,
Yeah,
Letu. Thanks so
bye.
much for your time.
No
Okay.
problem. Bye.